Hello and welcome back to Catch and Cook California. I'm Kevin, and this is video number 6 in my new series, An Introduction to Freediving and Spearfishing California. Today, we're going to head back down to Southern California, and we're going to do another jetty dive. Today, we're going to focus on delicious and sustainable 2-spot octopus. Let's go. So the open ocean right now is looking a little rough, but I just came to the inside of this jetty and it's a lot calmer in here. There's a lobster in 6 inches of water right behind the camera. Not even joking. That's a lobster right there. That's pretty cool. Definitely not legal size, but pretty cool to see. Hey buddy, I'm not really holding out for lobster today. This is not really ideal habitat for them. They really like to be out on the open coast a little bit more. They like really oxygenated water. But I filled out my lobster card, so if I do see something, maybe I can at least try to get one. If you're in between 2 jetties and it's the main highway to get in and out of a bay, you're gonna have boats going by all the time. So I really recommend you stay close to the jetty, and I definitely recommend that you rock a dive flag as you're doing it. So most of us have seen a jetty from the top, but here's what it looks like underwater. And before we really get into all the species diversity that you might bump into on a dive on these jetties, one thing I do want you to see, or in this case hear, is what boats sound like when they're in close proximity to you underwater. So here's what a boat sounds like. Now the crazy thing about that is sound actually travels twice as fast through water than it does through air. So when a boat comes by and you're underwater, you actually cannot tell what direction that boat is coming from. All you can hear is boat. There is boat present. So what I always recommend is if you hear a boat, look around as you're coming up, and as soon as you hit the surface, spin 360 and see if you can see where that boat is and make sure it's not barreling down on you. These orange fish are Garibaldi. That's our state fish. They're protected, so don't spear them. And like I said, I wasn't going to see any lobster, so of course, here's the lobster. He was a little undersized, so I let him go. And then a little later, I noticed this disturbed sand. You can see that the sand in front of that crack is a little lighter in color, light gray, rather than that golden color off to the left. And if you look very closely in that crack, you can see what I'm looking for. These are the eyes and tentacle of the abundant and sustainable 2-spot octopus. Now, this type of octopus is super common in Southern California. I find it almost every time I go out for a dive. Much more common than our red octopus and Pacific giant octopus, which are more common in Northern California. And today, this is what I'm pursuing. But this guy's a little small, so I'm going to let him go. So here I am just breathing up on the surface. Same thing I always emphasize. Clear your ears at the surface, then clear your ears every 2 feet on the way down, and make sure those eustachian tubes are open. And that way your ears will not hurt. This is a type of coral that's incredibly common in Southern California. Super pretty. Last time I spent a lot of time talking about the rocks, so today I want to show you what's on the sand. Here we have a filter-feeding tube worm, which is pretty cool to see. And as I swim out across the sand away from the jetty, you just never know what you might find. Like maybe some new fishing gear. Yeah, wasteland treasure. And as I keep going, I've got a sand dollar. That's what you'd expect to find on the beach. But here's what sand dollars look like when they're actually alive. We've got the Fort Knox of sand dollars down here. And a diamond turbot. There's a little flat fish hanging out in and among the sand dollars. Super cool, and then he decides that he's out of there. Yeah, you never know what you'll see. Here we've got a stingray all buried in the sand as well. Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, there's a lot of life on the rocks, but there is some pretty cool, unique life that you're going to see on the sand if you do swim away from those rocks. Yeah, so anyway, I finally turned around, swam back towards the rocks, and found a murder weapon. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody's bait knife, I think, but a good wasteland find, you know? Anyway, hitting the surface here, breathing up, and as I drop back down, I see this, and I'm not talking about those perch or that clam. I'm talking about another 2-spot octopus. This guy's sitting here waiting for his lunch break. He's got his lunch pail there, that clam that's, I don't know, if clams could dream, this is a total nightmare for a clam. The octopus is probably one of the coolest animals on the planet. I have nothing but the most profound respect for these animals. They're very intelligent. They've got 8 legs, no bones. They can change colors. They can change textures. They squirt ink. They can swim, but they can climb. They've got a beak like a bird. I mean, they are cool beyond belief. So some people say they're so cool, you shouldn't eat them. The 2-spot octopus reaches full reproductive maturity in a year, and usually they don't live more than a year and a half. As soon as the male mates, he dies. And soon after the female gives birth, she also dies. The population is incredibly abundant, and while people say that because they're intelligent we should not harvest them, the bottom line is a pig is supposedly as smart as a dolphin. And I'm still going to eat bacon. I will just do so with respect. And I appreciate that contribution, that meat that sustains the life of myself and my family. So the same way that I would hunt fish, the same way that I would take crab, I am an octopus hunter. So here I am trying to grab that octopus in a cloud of dust and totally failing, but I got the clam. So I put the clam back so he can have his lunch after that traumatic experience. Smacked my hand good too. That happens a lot when you're trying to go for these octopus because you got to be quick. Well, I had to try. He gave me the slip. He's going to eat that clam tonight. That's the circle of life though, folks. I would eat that octopus, but that octopus is going to eat that clam. And as soon as a big enough calico comes by, he's going to eat that octopus. That's how nature goes. So I hit the surface again, just calm down and breathe up and then drop back down. Remember, I'm spending about twice as much time on the surface as I am underwater to slow my heart rate, catch my breath, and drop back down again. So here's another lobster. I've been diving for lobster long enough that I can see from a distance whether or not a lobster is legal size or not, and this guy is definitely undersized. But I wanted to take this as an opportunity because he's so young that I can bump the antenna with the camera right here and he still isn't going to move. A mature lobster would never do that. He would shoot back into that cave. But I wanted to take the opportunity to show you what they look like up close and personal because they are beautiful. So I brought down the 3-prong, cruised into this crack here, and behind this Garibaldi, which I cannot spear because it is protected, not because it's not abundant, but because it's gold and we live in the golden state, behind that Garibaldi is a whole school of opali. And I was thinking about spearing one of these, and then I decided that none of them were quite big enough for the likes of a cool shot here. Well, finally, here it was, this moment I've been waiting for since I launched this YouTube channel, the moment when I get to show you catching a 2-spot octopus. This guy was right out in the open, so I just was able to get right down in there and pounce. He was attached to a rock here. And the way I'm holding him, you can see here, I'm trying to get my hands between the head or mantle and the tentacles and just hold him in place. And I'll have to move my hands constantly, and that way I can actually keep him from slipping out of my hands. You can see that he keeps inking, and that's their defense mechanism. And right here I'm about to do what most people would not expect me to do, which is bite the octopus between the eyes to kill it. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me when I say it crushes the brain and kills the octopus instantly. It is very, very humane. That is how many indigenous peoples dispatch their octopus. And here in California we have specific regulations surrounding the capture of octopus, and as a result, biting the octopus might be your best way to avoid getting a ticket. So here in California, we're only allowed to take octopus with our hands or with a hook and line. If you were to put a knife through the brain of the octopus, it would kill it just as quickly as biting it in the brain. However, it leaves behind a hole. And then when you swim in, if you have a pole spear or a spear gun with you, and a warden stops you, and they find that you have an octopus with a hole in its head, they could make the argument that you potentially speared the octopus, which would be illegal. So, for me, I always bite my octopus between the eyes. It's a very quick and very humane kill. And here I am putting it on the board. So I'm using my pry bar again to mark spots. Here's another clam. I just wanted to emphasize that yes, I am in Southern California, but yes, there are live clams down there, so keep an eye out. Underneath this rock, I found a weight belt. I was really excited until I found out that it had no weights on it. Weight belts are a pretty common find. One of my clients actually found one the other day when we were out doing some poke pulling and sea urchin foraging. So if you find one, keep it because lead is expensive. That's another tip for you new divers trying to put your kit together. Buy your lead on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. There's no need for new lead. So this is a horn shark, and it's engaged in typical horn shark behavior, which is sitting around in a crack doing nothing. Lazy horn shark. Here's another school of opali. I'm just sitting here waiting for the right shot, and then at the last minute I decided once again, these opali are not particularly large. I think I'll wait for another day when I can spear a big one for you. So I took a shot at this sargo. I like to launch my pole spear sometimes if it's the beginning of my breath hold. That extra couple of inches sometimes is the difference between a hit and a miss, except for today it was not. That was a total rookie miss, but hey, it happens. So I'm pulling in the float here, my dive board. Again, I showed you how to set all this up, and I'll show you how to put that dive flag on it next time. But you can see me using it once again, making sure that I can put my pole spear or spear gun on the board, get it out of my hands, and then I can switch over to doing whatever else I'm going to do. In this case, I'm dropping down, looking over the edge of this rock here, and you can see the antenna of a spiny lobster. And this guy is actually legal size. It's a good size. So I'm waiting for the right moment so that I can pounce in here. Boom! And boom! He shoots out the back of that cave. There it is again in slow-mo, and disappears right into another cave. So I couldn't even swim him down and get him. Well, I almost had a lobster, and unfortunately March is the end of the season, so I don't think I'm going to have another opportunity till next season, but hey, at least you got to see them in the water. Lobster are another one that you can only take by hand, so that's why I don't spear these. And later I found some more fishing gear, so that was cool. And I also found a gray lip scallop, so I just popped them off the rock with my hands. Super stoked. Now I got octopus and scallops. If you want to see more on how to get scallops, check out my, 2 videos ago, going for freediving Southern California jetties for scallops. From there, I started driving north and ended up in Los Angeles on a friend's piece of land. I'm out here with Alex once again. We are looking in Southern California for mushrooms. Put your hand up there for scale. Those are oysters. Those are oyster mushrooms on an old willow, and we're in Los Angeles.
That looks good.
Nice.
Look at that. No bugs.
Those are beautiful, dude.
Oh. Bugs!
Bugs.
It's too young to have bugs.
Look, this is where it was attached to the tree, and that's where the bug was. In the cross section, there's actually nothing. This little brown and this little brown are pieces of the actual top of the cap that just came through when he cut it. All of that is bug-free. So the only part with any bugs was where it was connected. So what I do is if I cut this off, I'll just trim that part off, and the rest of that cap should be completely bug-free. Looks good. So now if we look at the end there, you can see there's no bugs. Killer, dude.
Yeah, it's a bug-free zone.
So Alex just cut that one right over here. Are some of the most beautiful clusters we've seen all day. Oh my gosh. So hang on. This in between is poison oak, and there's a lot of it down in here, all through here. So we're going to be super careful. All of these little shoots, these are poison oak, but right behind it, those are perfect oysters. Well, I probably wouldn't harvest these with poison oak running right through it, but those we're definitely going to cut. is definitely too old, but that's Alex's hand, and that is a cluster of
This
oyster
is
mushrooms.
one oyster mushroom right here. Some old, some young, a wide range.
Yeah, and those old ones, I mean, some of those look like they probably would have been 3 pounds or more.
Yeah,
So
huge clusters.
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So we missed those by what, like a week or so. But we've seen good promise, and the cool thing about that is even if you find these trees where there is a cluster that's melted, it's old and everything, you know that the mycelium is alive in the tree, which means you can come back to that tree and it might fruit somewhere else in that tree. So now we've got a spot.
Yeah.
Boom! After that, it was back on the road again, driving back into some serious Northern California weather as I came back into the Bay Area. And if it's raining like that, well, I guess we're just going to have to cook indoors today. Octopus, scallop, and wild oyster mushroom pasta. When I made the scallop pasta last time, Diane watched the footage and she's like, "Are you kidding me? You ate that without me?" So she forced me to bring the octopus and the scallops back, so here we go.
I love octopus.
Me too. Oh yeah, so I'm super curious how this is going to be. Trying a new octopus recipe. Is it good? It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very tender.
All right, octopus on the first bite. Super tender.
I actually kind of like the vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the whole idea of boiling an octopus in pretty much vinegar and some herbs, we were both like, okay, we'll see. That might be too much of a, acidic kind of flavor, but it is good and very tender.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan?
Mushrooms is good.
Yeah, I'm going for that oyster mushroom now. Those oysters, they just have such a good meaty texture, you know?
They're one of my favorites.
She is my favorite. Scallop time.
Wow. So sweet.
Mm. I'll tell you what, that octopus is bomb, but scallops I think might still be one of my favorites. But octopus is one of my favorites too. This is chock full of good stuff.
I don't know which one I like more.
Yeah, the octopus is super good too. And then we grilled up some zucchini and some crookneck squash. Super tasty. We were thinking we were going to have it as a side, and Diane's like, why not just cut it up and throw it in the pasta? And it's totally working. Yeah. Yeah, it's a 2-spot octopus. They're very, very abundant down there.
Why does it say 2-spot?
Good question. I don't even think I mentioned that in the video. So, yeah, they have a spot on both sides of their head. 2 spots.
Is it supposed to be like, look like they have eyes?
Maybe. Yeah, that would make sense. And then when predators come, they'd think that they're looking at them, and yeah, maybe. I never thought about that. Alrighty, folks. We're going to polish this off because this is bomb. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned some things about freediving for octopus and just, maybe a good recipe or something along those lines. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a like, leave a comment, share the video, consider subscribing, and until next time, keep the old ways alive.
Toodles.
For those who are interested, I'm still guiding local clamming and coastal foraging. I've got weekend low tides, but I also have a ton of really solid low tides on weekdays, so if you can get the day off, I am definitely looking to guide the weekdays as well. And still teaching my mushroom identification courses. Hit me up if you're interested. Hello and welcome back to Catch and Cook, California. I'm Kevin, and that's my dog's Snout. She's the star of the show.